Hi and welcome back. My name is Felix from Gold Vintage Watches, and in today's video you will learn anything you have to know about the watch company Zenith. Do you know the connection between Zenith and Rolex? The discovery of North and South Poles? Mahatma Gandhi's fight for freedom in India? Furthermore, we explain you the development of the company's logo and many other interesting topics about its history. Zenith SA is one of the most innovative watch manufacturers in history. Today they still master practically the entire watch repertoire, starting with minute repeaters, flyback chronographs and even tourbillons. Compared to other famous watch brands, Zenith is the one with quite a lot of redesigns of their visual identity. There have been 5 different main versions of the logo created for the brand throughout its history. And the first version has nothing in common with the one that we can see today. Since the first redesign, Zenith starts using astrological motifs for their visual identity. At this point, the iconic star appears for the first time. Although the early version of the logo had several stars of different sizes, they were always 5-pointed. Zenith experimented a lot with the shape of the logo. There were crests and circular emblems as well as simple rectangular ones. After the last redesign, the Zenith logo became simpler, but in the same way more elegant and confident. The iconic star symbol still occupies the largest part of the visual identity of the legendary brand. It is drawn in white on black or black on white and stands above the strict but modern and airy lettering. Over the decades, Zenith has filed 300 patents and over 600 different movements. With unbelievable 2,333 chronometry awards, a record unsurpassed in the field of precision instruments to date, Zenith left its mark like no other manufacturer. The company was started in 1865 by Georges Favre-Jacot at the young age of only 22 in Le Locle, Switzerland. For the construction of highly complex mechanisms needed for his fine watches, workers could no longer operate independently in several small workshops. The consequence, in 1865 Favre-Jacot simply built large buildings which the individual trades could work together. The birth of the very first watch manufacturer. And in this way, thanks to Mr. Favre-Jacot, it became possible to produce one timepiece entirely in their own factory. And this was a groundbreaking step in watchmaking's history. His innovation was revolutionary at the time, so naturally it quickly made the rounds. As a result, the general interest and demand for his watches boomed all over the world. Initially, like all well-known watch brands, Favre-Jacot produced signed precision pocket watches and gradually shipboard chronometers. Table clocks, precision pendulum clocks and marine chronometers were also produced. Timepieces have been exported from Le Locle all over the world since 1890. After all, the manufacturer Favre-Jacot has been called Zenith since 1911. The highest point of the firmament served as inspiration for the unusual name as a sign of the first-class nature of the brand with a star. Locally, the company was also known as a manufacturer with 2,000 golden and silver hands, an expression of the high expertise of Favre-Jacot's skilled workers. The founder's nephew, James Favre, was responsible for the popularity of the so-called Neuchâteloise, the pendulum clocks. The success led within a very short time to the opening of new branches of the manufacturer, one in Besançon in France and one in New York. After the First World War, Zenith began to develop and manufacture wristwatches with alarm and chronograph. Inside the chronographs ticked a value movement. But the most important milestone in the success story of the Zenith manufacturer was the development of the El Primero chronograph caliber in 1969. Zenith remains the lead. It took the company 7 years of construction and was the world's first automatic chronograph. Zenith planned to introduce this movement to the 100th anniversary of the manufacture, but it took the engineers 4 years longer than originally planned. El Primero, the first, is still one of the most precise series-produced movements of the world. Thanks to the automatic caliber with 36,000 vibrations per hour, instead of the usual 28,800 vibrations. A lot of brands use the El Primero chronograph caliber. Even Rolex had a El Primero ticking from 1988 to 2000 with some modifications. Until then, Rolex did not have its own automatic chronograph caliber. Certainly, not in chronometer quality. Therefore, the largest Geneva manufacturer produced under license this movement for the most famous chronograph in the world, the Daytona Cosmograph, reference 16520. The demand for the Daytona with automatic winding was so great that the delivery per concessionaire was limited to a few watches. From then on, watch fans had to wait for their Rolex Daytona, sometimes for years, and the price rose. So the Daytona myth was born. During the quartz crisis in the 1970s, the production of the El Primero was discontinued. The American company owners at the time, the Zenith Radio Corporation, for some reason ordered all plans and documentation, the tooling, the stock of components and the remaining raw works to be destroyed. It's only thanks to Mr. Charles Vermont, one of Venice watchmakers of the time, that the El Primero was preserved for posterity. He defied instructions to build only quartz watches and hid tools, machines and all construction and production drawings in the attic of the manufacturer. At the end of 1978, the company was sold to the Swiss group Dixie. In cooperation with the watch manufacturer Abel, the production of the El Primero was resumed, thanks to Charles Vermont's attic hiding place. Another interesting fact is that Venice watches have always accompanied pioneers in outstanding projects of mankind. In 1911, for example, Venice created a watch for Ronald Edmondson for his attempt to become the first man to reach the South Pole. 100 years later, Venice sponsored another explorer, Johann Ernst Nielsen, in his attempt to travel between the two poles. At this time, Venice created a spectacular watch for the expedition that was released at the Basel Fair in 2010. One of the most famous owners of a Venice alarm pocket watch was none other than Mahatma Gandhi, the man who led India to independence. From 1914 onwards, Venice watches were being exported abroad, including to India. During that time, Indian politician Indira Nehru gave a sterling silver Venice to her friend Mahatma Gandhi, who began using the watch every day. Unfortunately, this watch was once stolen during his travels. 6 months later, the thief, overcome with remorse, gave the watch back to him in New Delhi and begged for forgiveness. Before his death, Gandhi gave the watch to his granddaughter, and over the years the watch has been passed carefully through the hands of private collectors. In 2009, Gandhi's Venice timepiece formed a part of an auction lot containing his personal items, including his sandals, a bowl and his iconic round glasses. The lot was purchased at an auction for a total of 1.8 million by Indian billionaire Vijay Mallya. The next interesting story has to do with the English Channel between Britain and France. The French pioneer Louis Blériot took on the wide challenge to cross the English Channel by flying from Calais in France to Dover in the United Kingdom. After many failed attempts, which earned him the nickname King of Wrecks, he succeeded in becoming the first man to fly across the English Channel in 1999, equipped with a Venice watch. So now let's head over to our today's piece. A beautiful Venice caliber 146 DP from the 1960s. Let's start by talking about the movement. It winds very crisply and the movement works very smoothly and evenly. It's a mystery to us how a movement that was developed 80 years ago can do this so well. The Mattel and Universal based Venice caliber 146 is not really a movement, but a caliber family. Venice named his family of calibers 136, 146, 156 and 66 with a D or H after the caliber indicating whether it was a 2 or 3 register model. Here you can see the D, which indicating the model with 2 subdials. The most important parts of its design language are the multi-phased lugs, the recessed subdials, the simplicity and most of all the symmetry of the 2 subdial layout. Here's a simple crosshair section of the running second subdial, while the chronograph register allows for 45 minutes of recording. On the chronograph register, there are also full lines at 3, 6 and 9 minutes, meant to help in timing long distance calls. Sharp gold hour markers and a finely printed pulsometer scale finish off the dial. Venice is committed to accuracy. Furthermore, Venice is one of the Swiss watch manufacturers that still produce their movements themselves. Today, Venice produced 32 different models for a total of 5 collections: Academy, El Primero, Captain, Pilot and Heritage. So that's all for today. We hope you learned something new as we do. And yeah, have a great day and hope to see you in our next one.